tuning in to Once Upon a Time. It is my new series I'm starting. We are going to talk about a life story starting from childhood to as far as we get. I will be telling the story from a request of people wanting a book or more information about history of the life of Eva O, which is me, and the people in her life. This is from my eyes, from my mindset. It's a bit personal. What I'm doing is I'm going straight into highlights I remember from my childhood on until I went to Los Angeles and all the things that happened there. So my story is going to be about my life. Instead of a book, I'm going to verbally try to tell you my story and how things came to be where I am right now. Most people don't open up their life to the world to view. I believe that storytelling can be pretty healing for both sides, especially true storytelling. Hopefully it'll give inspiration and a view of humanity. We all have had hard times, and some people's hard times is a lot different than other people's hard times, but in their heart, it's just as bad as yours. That's okay. We all have our own opinions and our own views, and we all have the gift of choice and viewing life the way we feel in our heart, and how it stirs up our emotions, our soul, and how we react to the things in life. Coming from our own words, we could reach people in their times of need for a friend or for someone out there they can relate to in things that they've had. We all are human in the end, and we all die in the end. We all have a timeline. And so, as Eva O, the character musician, live, I have put way far away, and I'm going more towards video production, and for now we're going to be doing this. Like music that I'm writing right now, I'm working on right now, or any video that I put out, any music that's on there will be stuff that I'm currently working on for my new projects. Once I have a handful of stuff, I will be doing video live sets, which I think would be interesting. I'm just trying to have a new direction, a new way with this, the way the world is now. All the weird rules and regulations that we have today, I'm going to live a different life. I don't want to partake in the world in that way, if you know what I mean. Anyways, we will start now. Once upon a time, there was a little girl born into a family, 3 siblings, a brother, a sister, and another sister. She was the second born. She was born in Nellis Air Force Base, Las Vegas, Nevada. This was in a time Las Vegas was not such a big city. Now it's crazy. She could hardly recognize it. But then it had the more small town charm. People were friendly, people were down to earth, and all the hustle bustle was just on one strip, which was called the Strip. It was small. She was born and lived in Nellis Air Force Base until she was like in 3rd grade. She had difficulties. Was very shy, withdrawn, and I would say withdrawn to the point where they would call her parents in assuming that she might have been abused, but she wasn't. She was just withdrawn. That was just her personality. Um, Probably what led her to being like that was she started off life like any old kid, but she ended up having a tumor in her neck, which went all the way down into her rib cage. It was rare. This is all I can say. I'm not a doctor. All I know is the details that I know. So, like I said, this is coming from this Cavesa. She had a bump on her neck, and she would cry because it didn't. It felt bad, and she told her mom about it, and they took her to the doctor and found out it was a tumor, and then she had to be admitted to the hospital to have surgery to get this removed. And this hospital stay lasted about a month. I think it had a big impact on her life. I think that she was very fragile and scared at what, 2.5, 3 years old. That's a big journey to be away from your family. And um, her best friends was Gumby and Pokey, because she had a little Gumby and Pokey doll, and that was her best friends in the hospital, besides the nurses and the doctors. Um, she eventually did get the surgery, and they were just trying to figure out. They had to cut all the way across her neck and get this thing out of her. Eventually, she went for the surgery. One of the biggest days for a 2.5, 3 year old to remember. I didn't think that kids could remember that young, but I did. Um, she was, I believe, fresh out of surgery or healing from the surgery, and she was in a room with an infant, and she heard all this screaming and crying like the baby was in pain. And the day before, the nurses told her, here's this button here. If you're scared or you need help, you just push this button and we'll come to help you. She knew she had that safety button if anything happened. And they always had the door open, so she could see when she's laying in bed, the nurses and the doctors walking by the door. One night, the baby was screaming and crying like she was in pain or needed help, and it was really scary for her. So she kept thinking about the button, but she realized the button was not next to her. It was hanging on the floor. It was hanging off the bed. It fell off her bed, and she saw this head come in with no body, and it was like it had a neck because it had a towel on the neck, but there was no body, and it was floating over the baby, and it really scared her, and she really wanted to push that button, but she couldn't push the button. She couldn't push the button, and she didn't want to move too much because she didn't want that head to see her, and she was so scared. And finally, that head went to her bed, and then it went floated away. And she never knew what that head was. It scared her so bad. And then the next day, she remembers they stuck all these needles in her. All these needles. I guess as an adult, she found out that was allergy tests. I don't know. Now, this is in probably 1964 or something. So things are different now. I don't know how they do things now, but I guess they were testing, and they had all these needles in her, all like a whole big square of all these needles in a row, and they were testing things, and she had IVs in her and all this stuff. Eventually, all that stuff was done with, and she got to go home. Like I said, it's about a month. Now you got to realize that a little baby, a little brain like that, which is a sponge at that point, laying down foundation. And when she came home, she was treated differently than the rest of the children because they were home with the family and she wasn't. And I'm sure they were told to be nice to her because she just came out of the hospital, and we got to be careful with her. And so I was always, treated like kind of sensitive, as a child. And I healed up and everything was fine, and it wasn't cancer or anything, but it was a massive tumor that was growing really big enough where they had to take it out. The other problem that she had was her ability to walk. Now, if anybody's ever seen me in real life, I'm not the most graceful person. I don't walk like everybody else because I, one, am double jointed extremely, and as a child, my bones are very flexible. And I guess most people, like people with money or middle class family, they would, somebody like me, they would have put me in braces, like leg braces to straighten my feet up. But I walked severely pigeon-toed with my ankles touching the ground. So because of that, when I started school, I would get harassed all the time. Like I treated like a monster. I'd walk in and people would run from me or not want to sit next to me or call me monster or throw things at me or just do really horrible, awful things. And that's how kids are, I guess. But that's how I was treated because I wasn't, walking like everybody else. I kind of walked really weird, and people just didn't accept it. And still today, as an adult, I'm not conscious about my walking, and I do have a tendency to walk pigeon-toed. My ankles don't collapse anymore because as you get older, you learn how to stabilize yourself better. Your muscles grow, your joints close a little bit more, and so, that was always a big mark on insecurities and not accepted by the human race, which created a lot of anger in me as a child, as a young teenager, a lot of feeling of not belonging. I would not change anything because to me, these kind of things bring creativity and help you not take things for granted and have more compassion for the underdog. I'm grateful for my life. I'm excited that I actually started this. I will start episode 2 very soon. You all have a blessed day. Thank you for supporting Eva O. Let's grow a community here. Thank you. Much love from above.